The world may seem like an exciting place to explore, but not all vacations end with a happy return. From bizarre accidents to chilling murders, tourists abroad have met untimely and disturbing fates in places far from home. These stories are full of mystery, terror, and the unknown. Prepare yourself for a journey through the darkest side of travel. This is 2 hours of the most disturbing deaths of tourists abroad. It was January 3rd, 2025, on the Thai island of Yau Yai. Blanca Ojanguren Garcia, a 22-year-old law and international relations student from Spain, was spending time at the Koh Yao Elephant Care Center. She had been studying abroad at Tam Kang University in Taiwan and decided to visit Thailand before completing her degree. This trip was supposed to be a memorable experience, but it ended in tragedy. Blanca was taking part in a popular activity, bathing elephants. Many tourists visit the sanctuary each year for close encounters with these animals in what is considered a safe environment. However, while she was washing one of the elephants, she suddenly became agitated. The animal struck Blanca with its trunk, knocking her to the ground. The impact caused severe injuries. Around 18 other tourists, including Blanca's boyfriend, witnessed the incident. Initially, some reports suggested she had been injured by the elephant's tusks, but later confirmation stated it was the force of the trunk that caused her fatal wounds. Staff immediately called for help and she was rushed to the nearest hospital. But despite doctors' efforts, she did not survive. Following the tragedy, the Koh Yao Elephant Care Center temporarily closed. The facility housed 3 elephants, including the one involved in the incident. Although the sanctuary had a strong reputation for ethical treatment, experts noted that even well-cared-for animals can react unpredictably, especially when exposed to frequent human interaction. Blanca's sudden passing raised concerns about the risks of elephant tourism. While elephants are not typically aggressive, they can become defensive when stressed or overwhelmed. Some specialists believe that repeated exposure to crowds may increase anxiety in these animals, leading to unexpected reactions. Her boyfriend, who was with her during the accident, was devastated. Fortunately, no other visitors were harmed. The sanctuary, known for its controlled interactions with elephants, had been a favorite among tourists. However, this tragic event has brought attention to the potential dangers of getting too close to these powerful creatures. Blanca's family, including her parents and siblings, was heartbroken by the news. The Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed her passing and assisted in bringing her remains back home. Her body was first taken to Phuket before being transported to Spain. The Spanish ambassador to Thailand expressed condolences to her grieving loved ones. Her university, the University of Navarra, also released a statement mourning her loss. Professors and classmates remembered Blanca as a bright, hard-working student with a promising future. The impact of her passing was also felt in her hometown of Valladolid, where the city's mayor publicly expressed his sympathies. Blanca's case was eerily similar to another incident that happened just months earlier. In South Africa, a Spanish tourist named Carlos Luna lost his life when he was caught in the middle of a herd of elephants after stepping out of his vehicle to take photos. The similarities between these events have sparked further discussions about the risks of interacting with wild animals, even in controlled settings. Thailand is home to around 3,500 elephants, many of which live in sanctuaries, national parks, and tourism facilities. The demand for elephant encounters has grown significantly in the past decade, with nearly 2,800 elephants in captivity. While some places focus on ethical treatment, the constant presence of tourists can be stressful for the animals. Elephants are highly intelligent creatures with complex emotions. In the wild, they live in tight-knit family groups and roam vast areas. In captivity, their natural behaviors are often disrupted. Some experts believe excessive human contact can lead to distress, making their reactions unpredictable. Blanca's story is one of many incidents involving elephants and tourists. While rare, these cases highlight the challenge of keeping wild animals in environments where they regularly interact with people. Organizations like World Animal Protection have long spoken against using elephants for entertainment, calling for improved welfare and stricter safety measures in wildlife tourism. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Should sanctuaries enforce stricter regulations to protect both visitors and animals? Would limiting human interaction reduce these risks? these questions remain unanswered as discussions about ethical tourism continue. For now, the Koyao Elephant Care Center remains temporarily closed while authorities investigate. Meanwhile, Blanca's family and friends mourn a young woman who has so much ahead of her. This heartbreaking event serves as an example of the unpredictability of wild animals, even in places designed to keep them safe. Blanca Ojanguren. Garcia will be remembered not only for her academic achievements but also for the ongoing discussions her passing has sparked about wildlife tourism. As travelers continue seeking close encounters with these majestic creatures, the world must decide how to balance human experiences with the well-being of the animals they admire. It was the evening of May 2024 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Alma Bohadana, a 22-year-old from Kibbutz Yassur in Israel, had been traveling through Brazil for months. She spent 3 months in Salvador before moving to Rio just 10 days earlier. That night, while exploring the Santa Teresa neighborhood with her travel companion Dan Hen, tragedy struck. Earlier that day, Alma and Dan had visited the famous Christ the Redeemer statue, one of Rio's top attractions. They were walking back when a red car suddenly pulled up beside them. One of the passengers got out and demanded Alma's belongings. Panicked, she tried to step back, but in the confusion she stumbled over a low barrier. Before she could regain her balance, Alma fell 15 meters or 49 feet into a wooded area below. The people in the car quickly drove off, leaving Dan behind. In shock, he ran down a nearby staircase, desperately trying to find her. However, the area was dark and covered in dense vegetation, making the search difficult. When he finally reached her, Alma was still alive but in agonizing pain. She cried out for help, but her injuries were severe. Emergency responders arrived soon after, but there was nothing they could do. Alma had suffered multiple fractures, and she passed away at the scene. Alma was known for her warm and outgoing personality. She loved meeting new people and immersing herself in different cultures. During her time in Salvador, she became a familiar face at a local hostel, where she quickly bonded with staff and fellow travelers. She even learned to samba and painted a colorful mandala on a hostel wall, something that remains as a lasting reminder of her presence. Her sudden passing deeply affected those who knew her. The hostel staff in Salvador remembered her as a kind and vibrant person, always smiling and eager to share stories. They recalled how she was constantly singing, laughing, and spreading joy to everyone around her, leaving a lasting impression on those she met. As for Dan Hen, his account of what happened that night raised some questions. At first, he told police they had been confronted by a motorcyclist. Later, he said it was a car. In a third statement, he explained that he and Alma had met at a hostel in Copacabana. His changing versions of events caught investigators' attention, leading them to take a closer look at what happened. Brazilian authorities have launched an investigation into Alma's death, with detectives reviewing surveillance footage and interviewing witnesses. The Capital Homicide Police Station in Rio is leading the case to determine if a robbery threat caused Alma's fatal fall. While the investigation continues, one thing remains certain. Alma was a young woman full of life and adventure. She had come to Brazil to explore, learn, and experience new things. But in one tragic moment, everything changed. Could the outcome have been different if things had played out another way? If the car had never appeared? If Dan had found her sooner in the dark? These are questions that may never have clear answers. For now, those who knew and loved Alma remember her not just for how she died, but for how she lived. A free-spirited traveler whose kindness and energy left a mark on those she met. It was May 12, 2023, on Chacagua Island in Oaxaca, Mexico. The island, known for its peaceful beaches and welcoming atmosphere, had always been a favorite among travelers. But on this day, something tragic happened that no one could have expected. Benjamin Gamond, a 23-year-old from Cordoba, Argentina, was traveling through Mexico with his two friends, Santiago Lastra, 22, and Macarena Gonzalez, 29. The group had recently been in Tulum before arriving on the island just a day earlier, excited to explore the area. That afternoon, they finished their meal at a beachside restaurant, completely unaware that danger was moments away. As they were leaving, a man suddenly attacked them. He was later identified as 21-year-old Irving Martinez Flores. He carried a machete, a common tool in the area, but this time it was used as a weapon. Without warning, he struck Benjamin in the head and face with extreme force. Santiago and Macarena, in shock, rushed to help their friend. In the struggle, both were injured. Santiago suffered a fractured hand, while Macarena received deep wounds on her back. Despite their injuries, they managed to escape with their lives. But Benjamin, who had suffered severe head trauma, was in critical condition. Emergency responders arrived quickly, rushing Benjamin to a nearby hospital. However, his injuries were too severe for local treatment, and he was airlifted to Mexico City. Doctors did everything they could, but 3 days later, on May 15th, Benjamin passed away. The attack left the Chacahua community in shock. The island had always been known as a safe place, where locals and visitors felt comfortable, even leaving their doors unlocked at night. No one could understand how such an act of violence had happened there. Authorities soon arrested Martinez. Strangely, he had met the group the day before on the same boat to the island. He introduced himself as a surf instructor and seemed friendly. The next day, when Benjamin asked about renting surfboards, something changed. Witnesses recalled Martinez staring at Benjamin with hostility, as if he didn't recognize him. Then, without explanation, he attacked. Witnesses heard him shouting strange phrases, seemingly accusing others of being sent after him. His words made no sense, and his motive remained unclear. Benjamin's family and friends were devastated. He was well loved in his hometown and known for his kind and adventurous spirit. He had traveled to Mexico not just to explore but also to work as a waiter, something he had done before. He dreamed of experiencing different cultures and places. But that dream was tragically cut short. As news of his passing spread, tributes poured in. His older brother Facundo traveled to Mexico to be by his side in his final moments and expressed his grief, honoring him as a hero. Benjamin's rugby club, Tala Rugby, also shared their sorrow and support for his family. For Macarena and Santiago, the experience changed their lives forever. They had fought to protect their friend, suffered injuries, and witnessed something they would never forget. Macarena's father later revealed that she had thrown herself at the attacker to stop him, risking her own life. She managed to escape and run for help, but by then, the damage had been done. Authorities in Oaxaca took over the investigation. Martinez was charged with aggravated homicide. Police confirmed that he had no known ties to the Chacahua community and had arrived on the island looking for work. Some reports suggested his erratic behavior may have been influenced by substance use, but the exact reason for the attack remains unknown. The case gained media attention, raising concerns about tourist safety in Mexico. Many questioned how such an unprovoked attack could happen in a place known for its peaceful atmosphere. Despite their grief, the Gamond family honored Benjamin's final wish. Before his passing, he had expressed a desire to help others through organ donation. In a final act of generosity, his family agreed to donate 7 of his organs, giving others a second chance at life. Benjamin's story is heartbreaking. He was a young man full of dreams, kindness, and adventure. His death left a lasting impact on those who knew him, and his loved ones are left wondering, what if he had never met Martinez? What if he had chosen a different place to visit? Would this have been avoided? While those questions may never be answered, his memory lives on. He is remembered not just for his tragic end, but for his kindness, his adventurous spirit, and the lives he helped save even after he was gone. It was November 6, 2024, in the mountainous region of Uzbekistan when a landslide caused a tragic accident, claiming 3 lives, including 2 Hungarian tourists. The incident occurred on the Kitob-Samarkand road near the Taktakaracha Pass, a route known for its breathtaking views but also its unpredictable dangers. On that day, a group of travelers was navigating this rugged road, which cuts through Uzbekistan's Kashgadarya province. Among them were 2 Hungarian tourists traveling in a Chevrolet Cobalt. The road, surrounded by towering cliffs and steep drops, is notorious for being challenging due to unstable weather and shifting terrain. Despite the risks, no one anticipated the disaster that would unfold. Without warning, a large boulder, loosened by unstable earth, crashed onto the road. The massive rock struck the Chevrolet Cobalt with devastating force, crushing the vehicle completely. The impact left no chance of survival for those inside. Rescue teams arrived promptly, but the scene was grim. The vehicle was destroyed beyond recognition and 3 people lost their lives instantly, 2 Hungarian tourists and their Uzbek driver. Authorities later identified the victims, and the Hungarian embassy in Uzbekistan expressed condolences to the grieving families, assuring them that arrangements would be made to return the victims' remains to Hungary. Following the tragedy, the Uzbek government launched an investigation to determine the cause of the landslide. Experts examined the site, looking into whether recent weather patterns or the region's natural instability played a role. This was not the first landslide in the Taktakaracha Pass, which is prone to rockfalls due to its unstable geological conditions. Despite its scenic beauty, the pass has long been considered dangerous. For the Hungarian tourists, their trip to Uzbekistan was meant to be an adventure. Instead, their lives were cut short unexpectedly, leaving their families to cope with an unimaginable loss. Local officials urged travelers to remain cautious when driving on mountainous roads, emphasizing that nature is often unpredictable and some dangers cannot be foreseen. The victims were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, with no way to avoid the disaster. The immense power of nature changed their fate in a matter of seconds. As the investigation continued, experts studied the area's geological activity, noting how the region's shifting earth made it difficult to predict future landslides. Authorities began discussions about improving safety measures to reduce the risks for future travelers. The Uzbek embassy in Hungary also addressed the incident, emphasizing how rare but unpredictable such natural events are. They reiterated that geological changes can happen without warning, reminding people of the ever-changing nature of the Earth. Many questions about the tragedy remain unanswered. Could a different route or a smaller landslide have changed the outcome? Unfortunately, such questions can never truly be resolved. A passerby captured video footage of the aftermath, showing the crushed car and blocked road. Although the actual moment of impact wasn't recorded, the destruction made it clear just how powerful the landslide had been. Local authorities are now considering ways to improve safety on the Taktakaracha Pass, which has long been known to locals as a hazardous area. Travelers unfamiliar with the region often remain unaware of the risks, which has prompted discussions about implementing better warnings or protective measures to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The loss of 3 lives deeply affected not only their families, but also the local community. Those familiar with the region understand its dangers, but for the victims, this knowledge came too late. This tragic incident is a reminder of how unpredictable and uncontrollable nature can be, turning an ordinary day into a life-altering event in an instant. On October 16, 2024, Nilesh Mukhi, a 59-year-old man from Kolkata, India, was on vacation in Bali with his wife Kavita. They had traveled to Nusa Penida, a small island famous for its stunning scenery and breathtaking beaches. That day, they visited Angel's Billabong, a natural infinity pool surrounded by cliffs. The site was popular among tourists looking for picturesque views, but it also had a dangerous reputation. While beautiful, Angel's Billabong was known for its unpredictable waves. Locals often warned visitors about the strong currents, calling it a dangerous spot. Large waves could suddenly crash against the cliffs, posing serious risks to anyone standing too close to the edge. Unaware of the danger, Nilesh and Kavita posed for photos near the cliffside. The full moon that night had caused the tide to be unusually high, making the waters even more dangerous. As they took pictures, their driver, who had been assisting them, noticed how close they were to the edge. Concerned, he warned them to step back. But before they could react, a massive wave hit the cliff with tremendous force, knocking Nilesh into the sea. Kavita was also pulled in but managed to survive with minor injuries. Despite efforts to reach him, Nilesh was swept away by the strong currents. Authorities were alerted immediately. The Indonesian Navy and local police launched a search operation, scouring the waters near Angel's Billabong. Sadly, the following day, Nilesh's body was found floating near Nusa Dua, approximately 12 miles from where he had fallen. It was a heartbreaking outcome for his family and the travel community, where he was a respected professional. This tragedy was not the first at Angel's Billabong. The area has claimed several lives over the years. In 2018, a Chinese tourist was swept away while attempting to take a selfie. In 2016, an Australian couple was caught by a sudden wave. The husband survived, but his wife was lost to the sea. In 2017, a New Zealand tourist disappeared while trying to save his girlfriend, who had been pulled into the water. The steep, slippery cliffs and unexpected waves made Angel's Billabong incredibly dangerous. During high tides, the risks increased, yet many tourists ignored safety warnings, eager to capture the perfect photo. Nilesh had worked in the travel industry for over 30 years and was a treasurer for Skal International, a global network of travel professionals. His death deeply affected his colleagues, who expressed their condolences and support for his grieving family. He left behind his wife, Kavita, and their two sons, Gaurav and Yash, who were heartbroken by his sudden passing. For Kavita, the pain of witnessing her husband being taken by the waves would remain with her forever. Similar tragedies have occurred worldwide, with tourists losing their lives while taking photos in dangerous locations. Incidents include falls from cliffs, slips from ledges, and drownings near rough waters. These events sparked discussions on stricter safety measures, prompting travel agencies to warn clients about high-risk areas. For Nilesh's colleagues, his passing was a painful reminder that even experienced travelers are not immune to danger. What if Nilesh and Kavita had stepped back when warned? What if more tourists understood the risks before visiting places like Angel's Billabong? Would these tragedies still happen if people valued safety over the perfect photograph? These questions offer no comfort to the families who have lost loved ones in similar accidents. But they do serve as a reminder of the importance of caution and awareness when exploring nature's most breathtaking yet unpredictable places. It was September 6, 1988, in Kenya's Masai Mara Game Reserve. Julie Ward, a 28-year-old British wildlife photographer from Bury St. Edmunds, Suffolk, had been traveling across Africa for 7 months, capturing the continent's stunning landscapes and wildlife. Julie planned to return to England within a week, but tragically she never made it home. On September 5th, while traveling through the reserve with her friend, Australian Dr. Glenn Burns, Julie's vehicle broke down. Dr. Burns left for Nairobi to get help while Julie stayed at the Mara Serena Lodge. The next morning, with her vehicle repaired, Julie headed to the Sand River camp to collect her camping equipment. Julie was never seen alive again. Concerned after days of silence, Julie's father, John Ward, flew to Kenya to find her. On September 13th, during his search, John discovered her vehicle in a gully near a river. Investigating further, he found her remains burned and dismembered near a fire. This discovery marked the beginning of John's decades-long quest for answers. Kenyan officials initially claimed Julie's death was caused by a lion attack or a lightning strike. However, John's investigation revealed something far more sinister. Her remains bore no animal marks, and her bones had been cut with a sharp blade. A British pathologist confirmed she had been dismembered with a machete and set on fire. John suspected foul play and believed there was an attempt to cover up the truth. Over the next 30 years, he spent over £2 million on his investigation, traveling to Kenya more than 100 times, speaking with witnesses and uncovering evidence. His findings pointed to Jonathan Moi, the son of then Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi. According to John, a witness claimed Jonathan Moi and his associates encountered Julie while she was taking photographs near the lodge. The group allegedly attacked her, and her remains were destroyed to hide the crime. Despite compelling evidence, no charges were brought against Moi or his associates. 2 park rangers were initially charged with Julie's death, but they were acquitted in 1992 due to insufficient evidence. A second investigation led to the arrest of Simon Ola Makala, a former chief park ranger, in 1997. However, he too was acquitted in 1999. John Ward maintained that these men were scapegoats and that powerful individuals within the Kenyan government were involved in a cover-up. Over the years, John collaborated with British authorities and sought assistance from MI6, hoping to hold those responsible accountable. In 2004, a British inquest ruled that Julie had been unlawfully killed. The inquest criticized the Kenyan government for mishandling the case and obstructing justice. While the verdict acknowledged John's tireless efforts, it brought no closer resolution to the case. Despite the lack of justice, John continued his mission. He published a book in 1991 titled "The Animals Are Innocent: The Search for Julie's Killers," detailing his investigation. John believed the Kenyan government suppressed evidence to protect its reputation in the country's tourism industry. In 2019, Jonathan Moy passed away, leaving many questions unanswered. John Ward's pursuit of justice persisted until he died in 2023, just weeks after his wife's passing. Before his death, John's sons, Bob and Tim Ward, vowed to continue their father's mission. They planned to publish another book and release a documentary to keep Julie's story alive. The Ward family remains determined to uncover the truth. Bob reflected on his father's dedication, describing him as meticulous and deeply committed to finding justice. While their lives were forever changed by Julie's death, the family has learned to persevere while honoring her memory. To this day, the mystery of Julie Ward's death remains unsolved. The Kenyan government and British authorities have faced accusations of corruption and cover-ups, leaving the Ward family to carry on their search for answers. Julie's story serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by families seeking justice against powerful forces. The unresolved case leaves haunting questions. Could Julie's death have been prevented? Was more evidence suppressed? Would justice have been served if the suspects had faced trial? These uncertainties continue to weigh on the Ward family as they strive to preserve Julie's legacy and uncover the truth behind her tragic death. It was September 15, 2024, in Naples, Italy. Chiara Giaconis, a 30-year-old manager for Prada, was celebrating her birthday with her boyfriend, Livio Rousseau. Originally from Padua, Chiara had achieved her dream career in luxury fashion, managing 15 stores across the France-Monaco-Belgium region. Living in Paris, she had worked with brands like Moncler, Givenchy, and Christian Louboutin. The couple's Naples trip marked a special milestone, and they were wrapping up their vacation with a stroll through the Spanish quarters before heading to Capodichino Airport for their flight home that evening. As they walked the narrow streets, Chiara carried a backpack and bag, while Livio handled their luggage on a trolley. It seemed like an ordinary afternoon in one of Naples' busiest neighborhoods. But as they passed under a building on Via Sant'Anna di Palazzo, tragedy struck. From the third floor of the building above, a heavy decorative statue fell suddenly. The 2-kilogram piece, depicting an ancient pagan deity, came crashing down without warning. It struck Chiara directly on the head, causing her to collapse instantly. Surveillance footage captured the horrifying moment. Livio froze briefly before rushing to her side, kneeling by her motionless body, calling out her name in disbelief. In his panic, he attempted to roll her onto her back while desperately shouting for help. Another man soon joined him, trying to assist as Livio waved for attention. Despite their efforts, the damage was already done. Onlookers quickly gathered, and emergency services arrived to rush Chiara to Vecchio Pellegrini Hospital. She was later transferred to Ospedale del Mare, but despite medical intervention, Chiara passed away on September 17th due to severe head injuries. The news of her death devastated her loved ones and shocked her community. Known for her determination and success in the competitive world of fashion, Chiara was admired for her ambition and talent. Her sudden loss was felt deeply by family, friends, and colleagues alike. Local authorities launched an investigation into how the statue had fallen. Initial reports suggested that it might not have been accidental. Investigators believed the object may have been dropped or thrown from the balcony, possibly by children inside the apartment. Police worked with the Naples prosecutor's office, opening a case for involuntary manslaughter and interviewing the apartment's occupants. It was discovered that multiple people, including minors, had been in the apartment at the time. Authorities were still determining whether the fall was due to negligence or a deliberate act. While the possibility of a tragic accident remained, investigators focused on the responsibility of the building's occupants and maintenance issues. Chiara's father, Gianfranco Giaconis, a respected condominium administrator in Padua, publicly thanked the doctors who had fought to save his daughter's life. Despite his immense grief, he acknowledged their professionalism and compassion during the ordeal. In the days following her passing, the Spanish quarters became a place of mourning. Residents, tourists, and officials gathered for a candlelight vigil in Chiara's memory. The mayor of Naples, Gaetano Manfredi, expressed his condolences to her family, calling the incident a great sorrow. Veneto's governor, Luca Zaia, also shared his grief, reflecting on how everyone had hoped for her safe return home. Chiara's tragic death raised serious concerns about public safety and the condition of Naples's historic buildings. The city, celebrated for its beauty and history, now faced scrutiny over its maintenance standards. While authorities continued their investigation, the family was left to grieve the loss of a young woman with a bright future. Chiara had been living her dream in the world of luxury fashion, a career built on years of hard work and dedication. Her sudden passing left a mark on all who knew her. Although questions remain about what caused the statue to fall, one fact is certain. This preventable tragedy took the life of someone deeply loved and full of promise. It was April 6, 2013, in the Kashmir Valley, India. Sarah Groves, a 24-year-old British backpacker, was on an adventure in this beautiful but disputed region. She had been in India since February, visiting her boyfriend Saeed Ahmad Shodha, and staying on the new beauty houseboat on Dal Lake in Srinagar. Sarah loved traveling and was always eager to explore new places. Sarah's parents, Vic and Kate Groves, were uneasy about her trip to Kashmir. The area was known for its unrest due to the ongoing territorial disputes between India and Pakistan. They had tried to dissuade her from going and even planned to meet her in Nepal to convince her to leave. On that day, Sarah's lifeless body was discovered in her room on the houseboat. She had been brutally stabbed 45 times. Her bloodied body, clutching a mobile phone, indicated she had tried to call for help. The scene was horrific, with puncture wounds and slashes all over her body. Dr. Farida Noor, head of forensics at Srinagar's General Medical College, described the injuries, highlighting that 2 fatal wounds, one to her neck and another that pierced her lung, caused her death. The rest were defensive wounds, suggesting Sarah had fought bravely against her attacker. The prime suspect, a 7-foot-tall Dutchman named Richard de Wit, was apprehended hours later, about 50 miles away. He was found shoeless and soaking wet, carrying only a passport and 2,000 pounds. De Wit had been staying in the room close to Sarah's on the houseboat. After the murder, he had stolen a rowing boat to escape, but it capsized, forcing him to swim to shore before he was able to hire a taxi to a nearby city. De Wit initially confessed to the murder, claiming that the devil had compelled him to commit the heinous act. However, he later retracted his statement, proclaiming his innocence. Despite overwhelming evidence against him, De Wit has managed to evade justice for over a decade. De Wit, now 53 years old, has been described as a paranoid schizophrenic who refuses to take his medication. He has exhibited erratic behavior, such as taking off his clothes in cold weather and locking himself in the bathroom to avoid attending court hearings. He has fired 5 lawyers, claiming they were incompetent or in cahoots with the Dutch government. De Wit believes the case against him is a fabrication by wicked people within the Dutch government, coming from his past involvement with a nationalist, anti-immigration political party in the Netherlands. Sarah's parents, Vic and Kate, have endured an excruciating decade of legal battles and emotional torment. They have attended 225 scheduled court dates, many of which were postponed or canceled. Witnesses have died or disappeared, and the Indian legal system has failed to build a watertight case against De Wit. Floods in Kashmir have destroyed crucial evidence, and 2 judges assigned to the case have stepped down. Vic and Kate have been vocal about their frustration with the slow progress of the case and the lack of support from the British government. They have campaigned tirelessly for justice, but their efforts have been prevented at every turn. Vic, now 80, expressed his despair, saying, "We are not confident that it will ever conclude. The worst aspect of the last decade is that we are no longer a complete family. There is a massive gap in our lives that can never be filled. Sarah was 1 in a million, a wonderful person in every way who always considered others ahead of herself." Despite the Groves family's relentless pursuit of justice, De Wit's antics and the difficult legal process have left them with little hope. De Wit's behavior in custody has been unpredictable. He has shown no remorse for his actions and has even tormented Sarah's family with cryptic messages. In 2017, he told a court he had a secret about Sarah's murder, but would only reveal it to her parents, further adding to their anguish. The case has become a farce, with De Wit manipulating the system to avoid standing trial. Doctors have concluded that he has a well-systematized delusional belief that he is being pursued by the Dutch government. He has refused to cooperate with his lawyers and has shown a complete disregard for the legal process. His wife, Thai national Uma Rupanya, revealed that De Wit became increasingly paranoid and insecure before abandoning her and their 2 children to go traveling. His journey took him to Kenya, Dubai, and Nepal, before he eventually settled in Kashmir, where he committed the murder. The Groves family has also faced challenges with the Indian authorities. Vic criticized the authorities for not taking the trial seriously, noting that only a small percentage of the 225 scheduled hearings actually took place. The trial was suspended years ago after De Wit was deemed unfit to stand trial. Despite their efforts to speed up the process of the case, the Groves family has been left in constant confusion. Sarah's father, Vic, told Mail Online, There are some developments, and we are hopeful that there will be a conclusion that offers some level of closure. No further comment on this at this stage. The family has set up the Sarah Groves Foundation to keep her memory alive and support art, fitness, and adventure in young people's lives, areas that were close to Sarah's heart. On the 10th anniversary of Sarah's murder, Vic told ITV that he had all but given up hope that DeWitt would be brought to trial. He criticized the British government for their lack of involvement, saying, "We are unavoidably wrapped up in international politics, and we have a British government who haven't stood by us. Nothing has worked out in our favor as the political situation between federal India and Kashmir is at an all-time low." It was January 3, 2024, in Rishikesh, India. Aisulu Kurmanalieva, a 32-year-old woman from Kyrgyzstan, was found hanging in a hotel room at Raj Resort. She had been in Rishikesh for a meditation program. This discovery shocked everyone around her. Aisulu had come to India with a group of 10 foreigners for a yoga practice session at Satya Sadhana Sansthan in Tapovan. They arrived on December 21, 2023, and completed their course on January 2, 2024. Afterward, the group checked into the Holiday Home Hotel, where Aisulu seemed ready to relax and explore the city. On January 3rd, Aisulu left the Holiday Home Hotel for a walk but did not return. Her friends were worried and tried to contact her, but her phone was switched off. They searched for her but couldn't find any trace. This prompted them to file a missing persons report with the local police. The police quickly began their investigation, hoping to find Aisulu safe and sound. While the police were investigating the case, they received a call from the manager of Raj Resort. He reported that a foreign woman had been found hanging in one of their rooms. The police rushed to the scene and confirmed the woman's identity as Aisulu Kurmanalieva. She had used an air conditioner wire to hang herself. The room was unlocked and there were no signs of forced entry or struggle. Senior Sub-Inspector Yogesh Pandey stated that the initial investigation pointed to self-murder. Aisulu's friends mentioned that she had been suffering from depression for a long time and was distressed due to marital issues. The police sent her body for a post-mortem examination to confirm the cause of death. They also informed the Kyrgyzstani embassy about the incident and tried to contact her family. The embassy and the police faced a challenge when Aisulu's family refused to get her body sent back to their country. According to her friends, Aisulu practiced Islam, and the police awaited a representative from the embassy to perform her funeral according to Muslim customs. The police were also investigating how Aisulu ended up at Raj Resort, as she had not booked a room there. This raised questions about her movements on the day she went missing. Did she meet someone who led her to the resort? Was she seeking solitude to end her life? Or was there more to the story? Aisulu's death left many unanswered questions. She came to India for peace and healing through meditation and yoga, but her trip ended in tragedy. Her friends and family were left to grapple with the loss and the mystery surrounding her death. The investigation continued, with the police trying to piece together her final hours. It was September 19, 2019, in Tanzania, where 40-year-old Stephen Weber Jr. from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was on a vacation with his girlfriend, Kanisha Antoine. The couple was staying at the luxurious Manta Resort, located off the coast of Pemba Island. Their underwater cabin, costing $1,700 a night, offered stunning views of the ocean's marine life, making the trip an unforgettable experience. This wasn't just an ordinary getaway, it was meant to mark a special milestone in their 2-year relationship. Stephen, known for his adventurous and romantic spirit, planned a unique proposal. He wanted to surprise Kanisha with an underwater gesture of love. Equipped with a handwritten note sealed in a Ziploc bag and an engagement ring, he prepared to make the moment perfect. In the note, he said that he couldn't hold his breath long enough to express everything he loved about her, but that everything he loved about her grew more each day. On the other side of the note, he asked Kanisha if she would marry him. Inside the cabin, Kanisha eagerly awaited Stephen's arrival. She filmed the moment as he swam toward the cabin's window, laughing with joy and anticipation. Stephen held up the note, then flipped it to reveal his proposal, before pulling out the engagement ring. Moments later, he swam out of view, presumably to return to the surface. That was the last time Kanisha saw him alive. After some time passed, Kanisha realized something was wrong. Stephen hadn't resurfaced. Panicked, she tried to contact the resort staff, but there was no response via phone or radio. She flagged down passing boaters, who quickly arrived to help. Stephen's body was eventually brought to the surface, and he still had a faint pulse. Despite efforts to revive him through cardiopulmonary resuscitation, he didn't survive. Kenesha later shared her heartbreak on Facebook, conveying her grief and shock over the loss of Steven Weber Jr. In her post, she described him as a beautiful soul and revealed that he never got to hear her answer, a resounding yes to his proposal. She also recounted their final days together, reflecting on how Steven had expressed gratitude for the incredible, once-in-a-lifetime trip they had experienced. The tragedy left everyone shocked and bewildered. Steven, an experienced swimmer with previous snorkeling experience, left his family struggling to understand how such an accident could have occurred. His sister, Mandy Hoffman, expressed doubts, wondering if there was more to the story and questioning whether other factors contributed to the incident. The Manta Resort released a statement confirming that Steven tragically drowned while freediving alone outside the cabin. Weather and water conditions were reportedly calm, and the depth around the cabin was about 10 meters or 32 feet. The resort extended its condolences to Steven's loved ones, describing the incident as a tragic accident. However, questions lingered. Why didn't Steven, a strong swimmer, make it back to the surface? Could there have been an undetected issue? The resort's chief executive officer conveyed the staff's deep sorrow over the incident. Meanwhile, Steven's friends and family reflected on his ability to bring joy to everyone he encountered. They remembered him as a genuine and loyal friend and found some solace in knowing his final moments were spent with someone he deeply loved. In the aftermath, Kenesha's tribute to Steven garnered widespread attention online. She reflected on their deep, once-in-a-lifetime connection and the tragic turn of events that transformed what should have been their happiest day into their most devastating one. A GoFundMe page was created to help Steven's family cover the costs of bringing his body back to the United States and for funeral expenses, raising over $17,000. The United States Department of State offered its condolences and assisted the family as they sought answers about what happened that day. To this day, the exact cause of Steven's drowning remains unclear. His family is left with lingering questions. Was there an unforeseen issue, or was it a tragic accident? Could anything have been done to prevent it? Steven's passing is a painful reminder to his loved ones of the fragility of life. Kenesha mourns the loss of the man she was about to marry while holding on to the memories of their shared joy. Though Steven's life ended far too soon, his family and friends remember him as a loving and vibrant soul who left a mark on everyone he met. It was November 27, 2022, in San Andres, Colombia. Natalia Andrea Laranaga Fajardo, a 26-year-old from Cali, Colombia, was on a vacation she had eagerly anticipated. Known for her love of the water, she had come to enjoy the serene beaches and warm sun of this Caribbean island with her friends. That day, Natalia was in high spirits as she relaxed on Whitewater Beach, one of the island's most popular spots. In the afternoon, she and her friends spent time on a boat, soaking in the tranquil atmosphere. The day seemed perfect: calm waters, sunny skies, and joyful laughter. However, the events that followed would change everything. As the boat docked at the beach, Natalia realized her flip-flops had been left behind in the water. Without hesitation, she jumped back in to retrieve them, a simple act most wouldn't think twice about. Unfortunately, this decision would lead to an unimaginable tragedy. Unbeknownst to Natalia, a nearby boat carrying 24 tourists and 2 crew members was approaching. Its propeller was still running as Natalia swam toward her flip-flops. Tragically, she found herself caught in its path. The propeller struck her with devastating force. The scene was horrifying. Witnesses nearby watched in shock as the water turned red. Natalia sustained severe injuries to her legs, lower back, and hips. Amid the panic, she was pulled from the water and rushed to a nearby jet ski to get her to the hospital as quickly as possible. At 5:30 p.m., Natalia arrived at the State Social Enterprise Department Hospital of San Andres. Doctors immediately began working to save her, performing multiple blood transfusions and emergency surgeries. Despite their best efforts, the extent of her injuries made her survival uncertain. Natalia suffered cardiac arrest, but medics were able to revive her and placed her in the intensive care unit. Sadly, by the early hours of November 28th, her heart stopped again, and this time she could not be revived. Natalia passed away at just 26 years old. Following the incident, Colombian maritime authorities immobilized the boat involved. The two crew members were placed under investigation, a standard procedure after such events. Officials issued reminders about the importance of staying clear of moving boats and communicating with crew members when entering the water to prevent future accidents. A video of the accident surfaced online, showing the chaos and distress as the tragedy unfolded. The footage quickly went viral, sparking widespread shock and discussions about boating safety. Many were struck by how a simple action, jumping into the water for flip-flops, had such catastrophic consequences. This incident wasn't an isolated one. Just months earlier, a similar tragedy occurred in the Florida Keys. Juan Carlos Escote Alvarez, a 31-year-old Spanish-Venezuelan banker, jumped into the water to rescue his fiancée, who had fallen overboard during a fishing competition. While his fiancée survived, Juan Carlos was struck by the boat's propeller and did not survive. These heartbreaking events revealed the often overlooked dangers of boating and water activities. In response, authorities and safety organizations began emphasizing stricter safety guidelines, urging swimmers to stay away from active boats and raising awareness about the risks of boat propellers. These incidents underscored the need for greater caution and education to prevent similar tragedies. Natalia's death was deeply mourned by those who knew her. Photos shared on social media showed her enjoying a drink at the beach just hours before the accident. Her story tells us how quickly things can go wrong in the water. The investigation into Natalia's case continued, with the boat taken out of service and the crew members facing legal scrutiny. However, for many, the lingering questions remained. What if she hadn't jumped into the water? What if someone had noticed the approaching boat in time? While Natalia's story is heartbreaking, it also raises awareness about water safety and the importance of vigilance in crowded boating areas. Her untimely passing reminds us of the need to cherish life and prioritize safety in all our adventures. It was July 25, 2019, when tragedy struck a promising young life in the skies above Madagascar. Alana Cutland, a 19-year-old Cambridge University student, died after falling from a small plane into the dense jungle below. Alana had traveled to Madagascar for a solo research trip, aiming to study a rare species of crustaceans. What was meant to be an enriching academic journey ended in heartbreak. Alana was a second-year natural sciences student known for her intelligence, kindness, and adventurous spirit. From Milton Keynes, England, she was deeply passionate about nature and had a love for exploration. Her family and friends described her as bright, independent, and always eager to take on new challenges. The Madagascar trip was a testament to her determination, as she funded the research opportunity to pursue her interests. Her family admired her enthusiasm, describing how she embraced every opportunity with excitement and courage in a statement after her death. Alana's love for animals and science led her to a remote lodge in Anjajavi, where she planned to conduct a 6-week study. However, the trip took a troubling turn after just 8 days. During her stay, Alana began experiencing severe mental and physical symptoms. Reports suggested she became increasingly paranoid and disoriented, possibly due to the side effects of an anti-malaria medication she had been prescribed. Her family, deeply worried after several incoherent phone calls, urged her to return to England early. Alana's parents arranged for a private plane to fly her from Anjajavi to the capital, Antananarivo, where she would catch a flight back home. Accompanying her on the plane was Ruth Johnson, a family friend, and the pilot, Mahefa Tahina Rantoanina. On the morning of July 25th, the small Cessna aircraft departed carrying the 3 passengers. Shortly into the flight, the situation escalated. Alana, visibly unwell, unbuckled her seatbelt and attempted to open the plane's door. Both Ruth and the pilot struggled to restrain her. Despite their efforts, Alana broke free and fell from the plane at an altitude of 3,700 feet. The dense jungle below made immediate recovery efforts nearly impossible. Authorities launched an extensive search for Alana's body, fearing it might never be found due to the wildlife and challenging terrain in the area. Days later, a local tribe discovered her remains, bringing some closure to her grieving family. They expressed their heartbreak in a statement, calling her a bright and independent young woman, deeply loved by those who knew her. Investigations into the incident raised questions about the potential side effects of her medication. Doxycycline, the prescribed anti-malaria drug, is known to cause psychological side effects in rare cases. Her family believed the medication triggered a severe reaction, which ultimately led to her actions on the flight. Alana's uncle, Lester Riley, explained that Alana was incoherent in her last phone calls, and they believed she suffered a severe reaction to the drugs. The tragic event also showed the psychological strain Alana faced during the trip. Though passionate about her work, the isolation and pressure of the remote environment may have compounded her distress. Her family's efforts to intervene were limited by distance, leaving them reliant on phone calls to support her. The aftermath of Alana's death raised awareness about the potential mental health effects of certain medications, particularly for young travelers. Her family emphasized that her actions were not intentional, but the result of an overwhelming medical condition. Alana's passing left her family and friends devastated. They remembered her as a vibrant and talented individual with a deep love for life and learning. Her death is a reflection of the challenges of mental health and the need for vigilance when managing the side effects of medications. Alana's story, though deeply tragic, underscores the importance of supporting travelers facing unexpected struggles and ensuring their safety. Jamaica's tropical allure promised sun-soaked beaches, vibrant culture, and a taste of paradise, which drew 53-year-old British tourist Timothy Southern from Lichfield, Staffordshire. In May 2022, Timothy arrived at the Royal Decameron Club Caribbean in St. Anne with his family, eager to enjoy the warm climate and the resort's relaxed atmosphere. Their vacation began as anticipated, with days spent swimming and exploring and evenings filled with delicious food, live entertainment, and tropical cocktails. One evening, Timothy joined two fellow guests in a drinking challenge to consume all 21 cocktails on the hotel's menu in one sitting. Although Timothy had already been drinking brandy and beer earlier in the day, the challenge's allure was irresistible. The atmosphere was pleasant initially, with the men toasting and enjoying each other's company. Not a habitual heavy drinker, Timothy was caught up in the excitement and festive environment. As the night progressed, Timothy drank 12 of the 21 cocktails. The mix of alcohol, combined with the heat and his earlier drinking, began to overwhelm him. Despite growing discomfort, he continued to partake, caught up in the evening's revelry. The cumulative effects of the alcohol took a toll on his body, though Timothy, immersed in the holiday spirit, barely noticed the creeping discomfort until it became too late. Eventually, Timothy decided he had had enough. The challenge, which had started as a fun diversion, now made him feel unsteady and nauseous. He said his goodbyes and made his way back to his room. The familiar surroundings of the resort now slightly blurred and distorted by the alcohol coursing through his system. His family, unaware of the extent of his drinking, assumed he was just tired from the day's activities and prepared to retire for the night themselves. It wasn't long after he returned to his room that Timothy's condition worsened. What had initially felt like a manageable level of intoxication quickly escalated into something much more severe. His body, overwhelmed by the excessive alcohol, began to rebel. He felt a sharp pain in his stomach, followed by a wave of nausea that left him gasping for breath. Desperate for relief, he tried to force himself to vomit, but his coordination was impaired, and he could feel himself choking. A family member, noticing Timothy's distress, rushed to his aid. They managed to turn him onto his side, placing him in the recovery position in an attempt to prevent him from choking further. Panic set in as they realized the severity of his condition. His skin was cold and clammy, his breathing shallow and labored. They called for help, their voices filled with urgency as they pleaded for someone to summon an ambulance. Minutes ticked by, each one filled with increasing dread as Timothy's condition deteriorated. A nurse eventually arrived, but to the horror of Timothy's family, no ambulance had been called. The nurse, seemingly unsure how to handle the situation, hesitated, prompting the family to urge her to act. Despite their desperate pleas, it was clear that time was running out. The nurse finally began chest compressions, but Timothy's body showed little response. His pulse was weak, his skin now tinged with the coldness of hypothermia. The family's worst fears were confirmed when Timothy was pronounced dead. The cause of death was later determined to be acute gastroenteritis due to alcohol consumption, a stark and clinical explanation for the tragic loss of life that had unfolded in what was supposed to be a place of relaxation and joy. The impact of the night's events left Timothy's family reeling, their vacation forever marred by the senselessness of the situation. In the following days, The Southern family struggled to understand what had happened. They were angry, grief-stricken, and filled with a sense of injustice. They believed that the resort had failed in its duty of care, not only by allowing the drinking challenge to take place, but also by not responding adequately when Timothy's life was in danger. The realization that their travel insurance did not cover the repatriation of Timothy's body only added to their heartbreak, forcing them to start a GoFundMe campaign to bring him back home to the UK. Taylor Rankine, a 26-year-old adventurer from Ontario, Canada, had long dreamed of cliff diving and carefully planned his vacation to Negril, Jamaica, known for its stunning cliffs and crystal-clear waters. Negril's dramatic coastline and vibrant atmosphere made it a paradise for thrill-seekers eager to test their limits against the backdrop of the Caribbean Sea. On a bright azure day, Taylor and his friends spent the morning at 7 Mile Beach, enjoying the sun and warm waters. By afternoon, they headed to the iconic cliffs, famed for their breathtaking views and varying heights. While popular among locals and tourists, the cliffs were notorious for hidden underwater hazards, posing risks even to experienced divers. Having researched and practiced diving techniques, Taylor felt excitement and apprehension as he approached one of the higher jumping points. The views were spectacular, but the height was daunting. He took a deep breath, mentally reviewing the steps needed for a safe dive. Precision in speed, form, and timing was crucial to avoid disaster. With his friends cheering him on, Taylor prepared to jump. Balancing excitement with nerves, he focused on his training and gauged the distance to the water. He leaped with grace and confidence, feeling the exhilarating rush of weightlessness. As he soared through the air, he angled his body downward, readying himself for the impact, eyes fixed on his intended landing spot. However, an unexpected and tragic turn of events unfolded as Taylor neared the water. The sea, which had seemed inviting and serene from the cliff, was not the smooth expanse he had anticipated. Hidden rocks lay beneath the surface, obscured by the crystal-clear water. These underwater hazards were difficult to detect from above, even for experienced divers and jumpers. Rather than being a clean entry, the impact struck the hidden rocks with a force that Taylor could not have foreseen. The water muffled the sound of Taylor's collision with the rocks, but the impact was violent. The sudden jolt threw his body off balance and immediately submerged him. His friends, watching from above, saw their companion's splash and sudden disappearance. Panic set in as they scrambled to get help, their previous excitement giving way to a desperate urgency. Local rescue efforts were swift, but ultimately too late. Taylor was retrieved from the water and rushed to a nearby hospital. A sense of helplessness marked the journey, the situation's urgency overshadowing any hope for a positive outcome. Upon arrival at the hospital, medical personnel worked frantically to save him. But despite their best efforts, Taylor was pronounced dead. The extent of his injuries, including the severe trauma from the impact with the hidden rocks, was too grave to overcome. The incident sent shockwaves through the community. Taylor's friends were devastated, grappling with the loss of their companion and the circumstances of his death. The local police conducted an investigation into the accident, their findings attributing the cause of death to the collision with the submerged rocks. The tragedy, however, did not end there. The accident became controversial when Dwayne Cook, a Canadian tourist who had previously jumped from the same cliffs, publicly disputed the police report. Cook claimed that when he had made similar jumps, there had been no rocks in the area where Taylor had jumped. He suggested that Taylor's death might have resulted from an issue with the dive itself, perhaps a miscalculation or a problem with his technique, rather than the presence of hidden rocks. Cook's claims introduced an additional layer of complexity to the already painful situation. His assertions raised questions about the safety of the cliff diving spots and the accuracy of the local authorities' findings. The debate over the actual cause of Taylor's death sparked discussions about the inherent dangers of cliff diving and the need for more extraordinary safety measures at popular tourist sites. The tragedy of Taylor Rankine's death highlighted the dangerous nature of extreme sports and the unpredictable risks associated with activities like cliff diving. The cliffs in Negril, while renowned for their beauty and allure, were reminders of the fine line between adventure and danger. Taylor's accident was a sad reminder of the potential consequences of misjudging a jump, the hidden hazards beneath seemingly inviting waters, and the critical importance of safety and preparedness in extreme sports. It was August 17, 2024, in Mauritius, a tropical island known for its stunning beaches and clear blue waters. Zalia Shamigulova, a 29-year-old university teacher from Russia, had traveled there for a vacation. She was adventurous and well-known online, having even carried the Olympic torch during the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. During her trip, she shared joyful updates with friends and family, saying she was catching happiness every day. But her vacation would soon take a tragic turn. That day, Zalia had plans to meet Puryavirsing Sundur, a 29-year-old IT engineer from Mauritius. The two had connected on the dating app Tinder, and what started as a casual meeting would soon become something much darker. Closed-circuit television footage captured Zalia for the last time as she left her rental flat near Flic-en-Flac Beach. She was seen getting into a blue Toyota driven by Sundur, who had offered her a ride. After that, she vanished. Her travel companion grew worried when she didn't return that evening. By the next day, Zalia's family in Russia received strange messages claiming she had chosen to disappear and didn't want to be contacted. This was completely unlike her. She was always in touch with her loved ones, and her sudden silence sent waves of panic through her family. Days passed with no sign of Zalia. Then on August 22nd, authorities made a grim discovery: a body buried in a shallow grave in La Marie, a residential area on the island. The remains were identified as Zalia's. She had suffered multiple stab wounds, and an unsettling detail emerged: her tongue had been removed. This disturbing discovery hinted at the violent nature of the attack and left investigators with many questions. Sundur, who had been taken into custody, led police to the burial site. His car contained crucial evidence, traces of blood, that tied him to the crime. When questioned, he admitted to everything. He claimed he had been deeply in love with Zalia and believed they were planning a future together. But according to him, he had discovered something about her that filled him with rage. He took her on a sightseeing trip, but at some point anger overwhelmed him. He attacked her, causing fatal injuries, then hastily buried her body in a remote location. His confession raised more questions than answers. Was his story true, or was there more to it? Zalia had been full of life, sharing her experiences with those who followed her online. Just days before her death, she had spoken about happiness. No one could have imagined how quickly things would change. Her family was devastated. She had planned to continue her travels to Madagascar on September 1st. Instead, she never made it home. Investigators continued looking into the case, unsure if Sundur had acted alone. Some of Zalia's belongings were missing, and authorities questioned whether there were others involved. The shocking details of her final moments left people wondering, did she sense danger before it was too late? Mauritius, a popular destination for travelers, was shaken by the news. A trip that started with excitement had ended in tragedy. Tourists who once felt safe now reconsidered how much they trusted strangers. As authorities worked to piece together the full story, one thing remained clear: Zalia's life had been taken too soon by someone she barely knew. The dangers of meeting strangers, especially while traveling, became painfully real. Online connections, often made with good intentions, could sometimes lead to devastating consequences. What if Zalia had never met Sundur? Would she still be alive today, exploring the world as she had planned? These are questions no one can truly answer. Her tragic fate stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly things can change. It was the evening of July 12, 2017, at Maho Beach in Sint Maarten, a Caribbean island famous for its breathtakingly close view of airplanes landing and taking off at Princess Juliana International Airport. Hundreds of tourists had gathered near the airport fence, eager to experience the powerful jet blast. Among them was Gayleen McEwen, a 57-year-old mother of 3 from New Zealand, who was on vacation with her husband Phil and 2 friends. Maho Beach is known for its unique but risky attraction, standing near the airport fence as planes take off. The force of the engines creates a powerful blast, which many tourists find thrilling. Despite clear warning signs advising people to stay back, many still take the risk, hoping to feel the intense rush of air. That evening, Gayleen and her group stood close to the fence, unaware that their vacation was about to take a tragic turn. At around 6 p.m., a Boeing 737 was preparing for takeoff, bound for Trinidad. As the engines roared to full power, the jet blast surged toward the crowd. The force was overwhelming. Gayleen, who had been gripping the fence, lost her hold and was thrown backward. She fell hard onto the concrete pavement behind her. Witnesses immediately rushed to her aid. A bystander performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation while waiting for medical help. Paramedics arrived and transported Gayleen to Sint Maarten Medical Center, but despite their efforts, she did not survive. The impact of the fall caused severe injuries, which ultimately led to her passing. Her family was in shock. Janice McEwen, Gayleen's sister-in-law, spoke about their grief, explaining how difficult it was to accept that someone so full of life had been lost so suddenly. Gayleen's daughter, Natasha, shared that the family was too heartbroken to talk about the incident at that time. The vacation that was supposed to be a time of joy turned into an unimaginable tragedy. Gayleen and Phil were well-respected business owners in New Zealand, running Blenheim Palms Motel together. They had also invested millions in a motel in Dunedin, which they opened in 2009. Their hard work and dedication made them well known in their community. This was the first recorded fatality at Maho Beach, despite several injuries over the years. Rolando Brisson, the island's director of tourism, expressed his condolences to the family and acknowledged the dangers of the activity. While the McEwen family recognized the risks, they deeply regretted not keeping a safer distance from the fence. Authorities had long been aware of the dangers at Maho Beach. Signs were placed around the area, warning visitors about the risks of standing too close. These warnings clearly stated that the blast from departing planes could cause serious injuries or worse. Yet, the thrill of the experience often outweighed caution for many tourists. Aviation experts, including Peter Clark, emphasized the dangers of standing in the path of jet engines. He explained that the force from a plane at full throttle is strong enough to throw people off their feet, sometimes with devastating consequences. He also pointed out that the takeoff blast is far more dangerous than the landing approach, as the engines operate at maximum power. Gayleen's tragedy was not the first close call at Maho Beach. In 2012, another woman was seriously injured when she was pushed into a concrete barrier by a jet blast. A video of the incident went viral, showing just how powerful and hazardous the experience could be. Sadly, that footage foreshadowed what would happen to Gayleen 5 years later. Despite these warnings and past incidents, thrill seekers continued to flock to the beach, eager to feel the power of the jet engines. Many ignored the posted safety signs, believing they could handle the force. Unfortunately, Gayleen's case was a devastating example of how quickly things could go wrong. After her passing, police urged tourists to follow the safety guidelines. Spokesman Ricardo Henson confirmed that while many had been injured over the years, Gayleen's loss deeply impacted the local community. Authorities reiterated the importance of keeping a safe distance from the runway to prevent similar tragedies. Gayleen's family had traveled to St. Martin expecting a memorable vacation, but they were instead faced with unimaginable grief. As they struggled to cope with their loss, questions remained. Could this have been prevented if the safety warnings were taken more seriously? Could authorities have done more to enforce safety measures? While those answers remain uncertain, one fact is clear. This tragedy serves as a serious lesson about the consequences of underestimating potential dangers. Even today, tourists continue to visit Maho Beach, drawn by the thrill of the jet blasts. However, Gayleen's story is a reminder that some risks should never be taken lightly. August 28, 2018, a family vacation in Hurghada, Egypt, turned into a nightmare. Janice Bowles, a 58-year-old grandmother from Bristol, was on a dolphin-watching excursion with her loved ones when a tragic accident took her life. The trip, organized by Thomas Cook, was meant to be a fun day on the water, but it ended in disaster. Janice was full of life, known for her humor, kindness, and love for her family. That day, she joined her daughter, Hannah Barcroft, and other family members on a banana boat ride, an inflatable tube towed by a speedboat. It was a common activity in Hurghada, popular among tourists seeking adventure. But what started as an exciting experience quickly turned into chaos. The driver, showing off by taking his hands off the wheel and leaning over the side, caused the boat to flip, throwing everyone into the sea. While most resurfaced, Janice became trapped under the overturned inflatable and couldn't free herself. Panic spread as those around her tried to help. Hannah could only watch in horror as her mother gasped for air, repeatedly sinking beneath the water. Hannah screamed for help, desperately trying to reach her, but it was too late. The minutes dragged on as Janice remained trapped, her mouth slipping under the waves again and again. Rescuers eventually pulled Janice onto the speedboat, but the damage had already been done. Her lips had turned blue and her body was lifeless. Despite frantic attempts to revive her, including chest compressions from a former soldier on board, a crucial step was missed. Her airways were never properly opened. One witness begged rescuers to help her breathe, but his pleas were ignored. When they reached the marina, emergency responders continued cardiopulmonary resuscitation, inserting tubes in an attempt to save her. Hannah, in shock, clung to her mother, begging her to wake up. But 5 minutes after arriving at the hospital, doctors confirmed the worst. Janice had passed away. Her family was shattered by the sudden and overwhelming loss. Hannah later reflected on the heartbreaking moment she had to let go, desperately trying to hold on. When she was finally pulled away from her mother's body, it felt as though her entire world had collapsed. Janice's other daughter, Anne-Marie Cox, expressed her heartbreak on social media, struggling to process the devastating loss. The news came as a profound shock to the entire family. She remembered her mother as the funniest, kindest, and most loving person she had ever known. Adding to the family's distress was a chilling connection to another recent tragedy. Just a week before Janice's accident, British couple John and Susan Cooper mysteriously lost their lives at a nearby hotel, Steigenberger Aqua Magic. Their deaths raised concerns about safety in the resort area, with speculation about possible exposure to toxic chemicals. The timing of Janice's accident only deepened the unease surrounding Hurghada's tourist activities. Following Janice's death, Thomas Cook suspended all banana boat excursions in the area and launched an investigation. A spokesperson from the company expressed condolences to the Bowles family, assuring the public that they were working to determine what went wrong. But for Janice's loved ones, no investigation could undo the pain of losing her. Hannah, still grieving, reflected on how much her mother had meant to her. She described Janice as an amazing person who would do anything to help. Janice's love for her family and her big heart had been central to her life. Her sudden loss left an emptiness in their lives that could never be filled. The tragedy raised serious questions. How could a simple water activity turn deadly? Why wasn't Janice given the proper medical support when she was pulled from the water? Could better safety measures have saved her life? Janice's death, along with the Coopers' mysterious passing, left many wondering if more could be done to protect tourists in Hurghada. Whether it was a tragic accident or something more, her family is left with unimaginable grief. One thing remains certain: Janice's absence will forever leave a void in the hearts of those who loved her. It was December 21st, 2024, in Marsa Alam, Egypt. Gianluca Di Gioia, a 48-year-old Italian diplomat, was vacationing with his friend, 69-year-old Giuseppe Fapani. The two had traveled to Egypt to celebrate Di Gioia's birthday. They were staying at the Red Sea Sataya Resort, a popular spot known for its coral reefs and clear waters. Wanting to explore the sea, they decided to go snorkeling. The men swam about 50 meters from shore just outside the coral reef, a common area for tourists looking for a better view of marine life. The waters there were not known for dangerous encounters, but it was beyond the usual safe swimming zones. As they enjoyed the experience, something completely unexpected happened. A large tiger shark suddenly appeared and moved toward them. Di Gioia was the first to react, shouting for help. At first, Fapani thought his friend was struggling with the current, but the reality was far worse. The shark had targeted Di Gioia. In a desperate attempt to help, Fapani swam toward him. However, before he could reach his friend, the shark turned on him. It bit into his legs, pulling him beneath the water. Fapani fought back, pushing and kicking, trying to break free. The struggle felt endless. Eventually, he managed to escape, but not without serious injuries. Bleeding and exhausted, he swam toward the shore. On the pier, their wives, Lawrence and Fapani's spouse, watched in horror. They had seen the men swim out, but were now witnessing a nightmare unfold. Lawrence screamed for help, and resort staff rushed to launch a small boat. By the time rescuers reached Fapani, he was barely conscious. He was pulled onto the boat and rushed to safety. Sadly, Di Gioia did not make it. As Fapani struggled back to shore, the shark remained near Di Gioia. The women could only watch helplessly as the tragedy unfolded. Within moments, Di Gioia disappeared beneath the water, and there was nothing anyone could do. Both men were rushed to a hospital in Port Galib, about 30 miles from the resort. Doctors worked quickly, but Digioya's injuries were too severe. He passed away shortly after arriving. Fapani, though badly wounded, survived. His recovery was uncertain at first, given the extent of his injuries. The news of the incident shocked the community. Shark encounters in that area are rare, especially during the winter months. Authorities, including Egypt's Ministry of the Environment and the Red Sea Governorate, launched an investigation. They wanted to understand why the attack had happened, given that the region was usually safe for swimmers. As a precaution, officials temporarily closed off the waters near the attack site. They also reviewed the resort's safety guidelines to determine if additional protective measures were needed. Despite surviving, Fapani was deeply shaken. In a call with his daughter, Christina, he described how he tried to fight off the shark to save his friend, but was unable to. The memory of that moment, he said, would stay with him forever. Digioya had been working for the European External Action Service, or EEAS, and was living in France. He had come to Egypt with his wife, son, and several friends for a holiday celebration, but the trip ended in unimaginable loss. Colleagues and loved ones remembered him as a kind and dedicated person whose life was cut short unexpectedly. The Italian embassy in Cairo stepped in to support Digioya's family. Meanwhile, discussions about improving safety in tourist areas gained attention. Experts examined whether environmental changes, such as overfishing or increased human activity, could have contributed to the shark's behavior. The tragedy also drew comparisons to a similar incident in June 2023. In a nearby area, 23-year-old Russian tourist Vladimir Popov lost his life in another shark encounter. In that case, too, onlookers could do nothing but watch. The similarities between the two incidents raised concerns about the unpredictability of these encounters in the Red Sea. For Digioya's family, the loss was unbearable. What was meant to be a joyful celebration turned into heartbreak. His wife and son, still in shock, received care from their tour operator and embassy officials. As investigations continued, experts debated whether stronger safety measures could prevent future attacks. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Was it due to environmental changes, human activity, or simply an unfortunate encounter with nature? These are difficult questions, but one thing is certain. The sudden loss of Gianluca Digioya left a deep impact on his loved ones and the community. On November 8, 2024, 15-year-old Jenna Chan lost her life during a school trip to the Maldives. She was part of a week-long educational excursion with classmates from St. Joseph's International Institution, a private school in Singapore. Their goal was to assist the Maldives Whale Shark Research Program, a unique opportunity to learn about marine life. But what was supposed to be an unforgettable experience ended in tragedy. Jenna, a British Singaporean dual citizen, was known for her kindness and warmth. She was the heart of her family, described by her parents, Alan Chan and Jennifer Liao, as their sunshine. She had a close bond with her older sister, Alice, and dreamed of becoming a geriatrician. Her love for marine life made this trip particularly exciting for her. On the day of the accident, Jenna and her classmates went snorkeling in a popular area between the Lux Maldives Resort and Didu in South Ari Atoll. Shortly after entering the water, something went wrong. The boat's engine was started, and as it reversed, the propeller struck Jenna. Witnesses described the scene as horrific. Jenna was pulled under, suffering severe injuries. Despite immediate rescue efforts, it was too late. She was rushed to a nearby health center, but there was nothing doctors could do. Her classmates, who had seen the entire event unfold, were left in shock. Jenna's family was devastated by the loss, but their pain was made worse by unanswered questions about what really happened that day. According to her parents, there has been little transparency regarding the incident. One of their biggest concerns is the lack of a formal investigation. Maldivian authorities did not conduct a post-mortem examination, and there are no official witness statements from the teachers or students present. This lack of information has left the family feeling as though no real effort has been made to find the truth. Another source of frustration was the school's strict no-phone policy during the trip. This meant Jenna's parents had no way to communicate with her, and they deeply regretted not being able to say goodbye. The policy also prevented them from learning about the accident until much later. Jenna's parents believed that multiple safety failures contributed to their daughter's death. Reports suggest the boat's engine was started while students were still in the water, a dangerous oversight that led to the fatal accident. The family questions whether better precautions could have saved her life. Jenna's older sister, Alice, has taken an active role in seeking justice for her. She launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover legal costs as the family pushes for a full investigation. The fundraiser has gained widespread support, raising nearly £5,000 of its £10,000 goal. The money is being used to hire Maldivian lawyers to pursue legal action. In her message on the GoFundMe page, Alice expressed her family's shock and frustration, stating that the circumstances of Jenna's passing and the lack of accountability have been deeply troubling. She hopes their fight will not only bring justice for Jenna, but also prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. Despite their efforts, Jenna's family has received little communication from Maldivian authorities. The companies and organizations involved have remained largely silent, adding to their distress. The lack of answers has left them struggling to come to terms with their loss. On November 15, 2024, Jenna was laid to rest in Singapore. Her family and friends gathered to say their final goodbyes, heartbroken by her sudden passing. But their grief is mixed with a sense of injustice. They still don't know the full truth about what happened to their daughter. Jenna's passing raises important concerns about safety measures during excursions like this one. Why was the boat's engine started while students were still in the water? Were proper safety protocols followed? Could Jenna have been saved if the situation had been handled differently? The family also questions the Maldivian authorities' lack of action. Could a proper investigation have revealed more about what really happened? Would stronger oversight have held the responsible parties accountable? For now, Jenna's family continues to fight for answers. They refuse to let her memory fade without justice. While they mourn their loss, they also hope their efforts will lead to change, preventing another family from experiencing the same heartbreak. The investigation remains ongoing, and for the Chan family, the wait for the truth continues. On January 21, 2025, a tragic incident unfolded in Roldanillo, Colombia, a town famous for its ideal paragliding conditions. Known as the paragliding capital of the world, the Aguapanela launch site was bustling with activity that day, as tourists and athletes alike took to the skies. Among them was 38-year-old Paulina Biskup, a Polish national living in Dublin, who had come to experience the thrill of paragliding with her boyfriend and friends. Paulina had built a life in Dublin after graduating from Trinity College and was known for her adventurous spirit. During their trip to Colombia, she and her friends decided to take part in paragliding, though they weren't part of a major event happening in the area at the time. While Paulina launched from Aguapanela, her boyfriend and the rest of the group took off from a nearby site. The day began as an exciting adventure for Paulina. As she soared over Roldanillo's lush terrain, the breathtaking views stretched out below her. However, just minutes into her flight, the situation turned grim. Strong winds caused her parachute to swing violently, making it difficult for her to maintain control. Witnesses on the ground watched in shock as her harness appeared to fail. The parachute began to collapse and Paulina slipped out, falling several feet to the ground. Bystanders screamed as they watched her descend. The sound of the parachute crumpling echoed through the air, and video footage captured Paulina's desperate attempts to regain stability. Tragically, her harness had not been properly secured, and she was unable to prevent the fall. She disappeared into the tall grass below, which provided little to no cushioning against the force of impact. Emergency teams arrived quickly, but Paulina had already succumbed to her injuries. Officials believe the impact was fatal on contact. Local authorities confirmed that the primary cause of the accident was an improperly fastened harness. The investigation revealed that the harness had not been secured correctly, leading to her fall. While human error is being cited as a key factor, the investigation into the incident is ongoing. At the time, Paulina had been enjoying the experience of paragliding in Roldanillo, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. Paulina's family and friends, who had been in regular contact with her during her trip, were devastated by the news. Her adventurous nature had brought her to Colombia, and the paragliding trip was intended to be a celebration of life. Instead, it ended in heartbreak, leaving a void for those who loved her. In the wake of the accident, Roldanillo authorities emphasized the need for stricter safety measures. They called on operators, locals, and tourists to prioritize safety protocols and thoroughly check all equipment before takeoff. The mayor's office issued a statement urging everyone in the paragliding community to ensure proper inspections and procedures to prevent future tragedies. This incident has also sparked a larger discussion about safety in extreme sports. While activities like paragliding offer thrilling experiences, they come with inherent risks that can be mitigated with proper preparation and vigilance. The events leading to Paulina's fall became a reminder of how crucial these measures are. Questions remain about the circumstances surrounding her death. What if the harness had been double-checked? What if the winds had been less aggressive? Could early intervention have made a difference? These lingering uncertainties haunt both authorities and her loved ones as they seek closure. Though Paulina's life was cut tragically short, her story highlights the importance of prioritizing safety in adventurous pursuits. Her love for exploration and new experiences inspired those around her, and while her passing is a heartbreaking loss, it underscores the need for caution and care in high-risk activities. Her memory reminds us of the value of preparation in ensuring that adventure doesn't come at the cost of safety. It was October 18, 2024, off the coast of Pulau Masokut Island in Indonesia. Giulia Manfrini, a 36-year-old Italian surfer, was enjoying the waves with two close friends, Alexandra Ribas and Massimo Ferro. Known for her love of adventure and her infectious energy, Giulia had co-founded A Wave Travel, a surf travel agency, and had spent years surfing in the Mentawai Islands, a place she considered her second home. Giulia had a background as a professional snowboarder, but had devoted much of her life to surfing. That morning, as the group surfed near the southern part of Siberut Island, something completely unexpected happened. A swordfish suddenly leaped out of the water, striking Giulia in the chest. Its sharp bill caused severe injuries, piercing 5 centimeters deep. Giulia's screams alerted her friends, who immediately rushed to help. They tried to provide first aid, but a large wave complicated their rescue efforts. The group managed to bring Giulia to the shore, where a doctor among them attempted to revive her. Despite their desperate efforts, she was unresponsive. Giulia was quickly taken to the Pepe Pasakiat Taileloi Health Center, but her injuries proved fatal. The swordfish's bill had struck near her heart, and she was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The news of Giulia's death shocked the global surfing community. Known for her vibrant personality, Giulia had inspired many with her passion for the sport and her adventurous lifestyle. James Colston, her co-founder at A Wave Travel, shared a heartfelt tribute, calling her the heart and soul of their company. He described Giulia as someone whose enthusiasm for surfing and snowboarding had touched countless lives, adding that she passed away doing what she loved in a place she adored. Such incidents are incredibly rare. Reports of swordfish injuring humans are almost unheard of, with only a few cases documented globally. One notable case, cited in the Asian Journal of Surgery from 2007, involved a man who was fatally injured by a swordfish while fishing. However, Giulia's case is believed to be the first involving a surfer, making it even more shocking. The Mentawai Islands are renowned for their pristine beauty and challenging waves, attracting surfers from all over the world. Despite the risks of the waters, Giulia often spoke about her deep connection to the area. She loved the raw, wild nature of North Sumatra, particularly Nias, a wave spot where she could spend hours surfing without tiring. Tributes poured in from around the world following her death. Fabio Giulivi, the mayor of her hometown, Venaria Reali in Italy, expressed the town's grief, calling her loss devastating. On social media, her 22,000 Instagram followers shared heartfelt messages, remembering her as a bright, energetic force who inspired those around her. Friends and fans alike described her as more than a talented surfer. She was a mentor, a friend, and someone who brought people together through her love for the ocean. Giulia's tragic passing underscores the unpredictable nature of the sea. The Mentawai Islands, though breathtakingly beautiful, are known for their dangers. Yet Giulia had always embraced the risk that came with her passion for surfing. Her love for the ocean wasn't just about catching waves. It was about connecting with the people and places that made her feel alive. While questions remain about the freak accident, why the swordfish leaped, whether it could have been avoided, her friends and family focus on the legacy she left behind. Giulia's adventurous spirit, Her love for life and her ability to inspire others are the qualities she will be remembered for. Her story is a reminder of the beauty and unpredictability of the ocean. Julia lived her life fully, following her dreams and building a community of like-minded adventurers. Though her life ended too soon, she left behind a legacy of passion, courage, and joy that will continue to inspire those who knew her. Julia Manfrini will always be remembered as a woman who chased the waves she loved, lived on her terms, and brought light to those around her. While her passing leaves a void, her memory lives on in the hearts of her loved ones and the global surfing community. October 25, 2023, in Indonesia's Limpakawus Pine Forest. The Gyeong Bridge, a glass-bottom walkway supported by two giant golden hands, was a major tourist attraction. Spanning 30 feet or 10 meters above the forest, its clear floor gave visitors thrilling views below and made it a popular spot for photos. That Wednesday morning, a group of 11 tourists from Cilacap, Central Java, gathered to walk the bridge. The atmosphere seemed calm as they stepped onto the transparent structure, unaware of the danger awaiting them. At around 10 a.m., the glass panel suddenly gave way. The shattering glass echoed through the forest, followed by the terrified screams of visitors. 4 tourists fell as the structure collapsed. 2 of them plummeted to the ground below. Tragically, one of them was pronounced dead at the scene. The other miraculously survived with only minor injuries. The remaining 2 were thrown off balance but managed to hold onto the bridge's frame, clinging desperately to avoid falling. Onlookers rushed to pull the 2 to safety. Meanwhile, another tourist who had fallen managed to climb back onto the bridge, while the lifeless body of the deceased victim lay below. Video footage captured the chaos, showing both the rescue efforts and the grim aftermath. As investigations began, it became clear that the tragedy wasn't a random accident, but the result of neglect. Concerns about the bridge's safety had been raised months before. In April 2023, Ikap Purnomo, chairman of the Limpakawus Pine Forest Cooperative, urged the bridge's management to evaluate the structure after visitors raised concerns about its stability. However, the manager failed to take these warnings seriously. Instead of attending a meeting to address the issue, he sent a representative who left without discussing the matter. Despite the clear warnings, no meaningful action was taken to inspect or strengthen the bridge. This negligence raised serious questions about the bridge's maintenance and safety standards. The collapse quickly became a national issue. Local police sealed off the area as a crime scene and launched an investigation. The Limpakawus Pine Forest, which operates separately from the Gyeong Bridge, was temporarily closed for further safety inspections. The tragedy also brought attention to the growing trend of glass-bottom walkways. While these attractions offer breathtaking views, they pose risks when safety is compromised. Tourists often trust that such structures are secure, but incidents like this reveal how quickly things can go wrong. This was not the first time glass walkways had raised concerns. In 2021, a man in China was left clinging to the side of a glass bridge after strong winds damaged the structure. Though he was rescued, the event highlighted the potential dangers of these attractions. In the case of the Gyeong Bridge, the tragedy might have been prevented if safety concerns had been taken seriously. Several visitors had already voiced complaints on social media, yet their warnings went unaddressed. Critics argued that the management failed in its responsibility to prioritize visitor safety. The structural failure also highlighted the importance of material quality in glass-bottom walkways. These structures must be strong enough to hold the weight of multiple visitors. When even a single panel breaks, there's little time to react, as seen in this incident where 4 people were affected instantly. As the investigation continues, many are questioning how often such attractions are inspected and whether existing safety measures are sufficient. Could more rigorous inspections and prompt action have saved lives? Unfortunately, these questions remain unanswered. For now, the tragedy has sparked calls for stricter safety regulations and better oversight of tourist attractions, especially those with unconventional designs like glass walkways. While these structures offer thrilling experiences, they also carry risks if not properly maintained. The loss of life on the Gyeong Bridge is a devastating reminder of what can happen when safety concerns are ignored. As authorities work to uncover more details, one thing is clear. Such incidents show the importance of prioritizing safety in tourist destinations. It was July 16th, 2024, at the Kumbhe waterfall in Manjurn, India. Anvi Kamdar, a 27-year-old travel influencer from Mumbai, was visiting this location with her friends. Anvi was known for her lively travel content, which she shared with her 300,000 Instagram followers. On this day, she was filming an Instagram reel near the waterfall when tragedy struck. Anvi was an adventurous person who loved exploring new places and sharing her experiences. Her Instagram bio described her as a detective for travel, luxury finds, cafes, itineraries, tips and feels. She had a passion for discovering hidden gems and providing travel advice to her followers. But this day, her passion for content creation led her to a fatal accident. The Kumbhe waterfall is a stunning sight, especially during the monsoon season when the water flow is at its peak. However, this beauty comes with danger. The rocks around the waterfall become extremely slippery and dangerous. Anvi, accompanied by her 6 friends, was well aware of the risks, but was determined to capture the perfect shot. As Anvi positioned herself at the top of the waterfall, she lost her footing and slipped. She tumbled down the 300-foot gorge, landing on a hard, slippery patch of rocks. Her friends were horrified and immediately called for help. The local authorities were notified and a rescue operation began. Rescuer Shantanu Kuveskar described the challenging conditions they faced. She fell on the hard, slippery patch of rocks around 300 feet into the valley and couldn't be spotted initially, he said. The rescuers had to use a vertical pulley system to retrieve her. 6 rescuers climbed down the hill while another 50 assisted from above. It took them 6 hours to finally pull Anvi out of the gorge. Anvi was still alive when they found her. She was responsive and placed on a ventilator for transport to the Mangaon Taluka Government Hospital. Despite the best efforts of the medical team, Anvi succumbed to her injuries shortly after arrival. The news of Anvi's death spread quickly and her followers were devastated. Her final Instagram post, shared a day before the accident, listed 5 cheap and uncongested spots in India to visit during the monsoons. The comment section of this post was flooded with messages of grief and condolences. Fellow travel influencers expressed their sorrow and support for her family. Please, let's focus on praying for her soul to rest in peace and remember the joy and positivity she brought to our lives, commented fellow travel influencer Akanksha Manga. She was an extremely responsible traveler. It was an accident, could have happened to anyone, added food influencer Shreya Sanghvi. Anvi's death also sparked a debate about the risks influencers take to create content. Some criticized her for risking her life for an Instagram reel, while others defended her, emphasizing that it was a tragic accident that could have happened to anyone. Local officials issued warnings to tourists, urging them to exercise caution while visiting the area, especially during the rainy season. Suhas Diwas, the district collector of Pune, advised the public to avoid water bodies during the monsoon season due to the increased danger. I appeal to the public to be responsible and not go near any waterfalls or streams. We have issued advisories and the management has asked us to handle any sort of incident, Diwas said. Anvi Kamdar was more than just a travel influencer. She was a chartered accountant who had worked with Deloitte. Her friends and family remember her as a kind person who loved to share her experiences and inspire others to explore the world. Her social media presence was filled with colorful photos of her travels to places like Turkey, Azerbaijan, and the Maldives. Anvi's journey was one of exploration and adventure, and her followers were captivated by her enthusiasm and detailed travel guides. In the aftermath of Anvi's death, there were calls for better safety measures and awareness for tourists visiting such locations. The desire for capturing the perfect shot should not go beyond the importance of safety and caution. It was May 14, 2024, a typical day in Goa, India. Among the tourists enjoying the coastal scenery was Akhil Vijayan, a 35-year-old resident of Ernakulam, Kerala. Akhil, his wife, and a group of 7 to 8 friends had checked into the circuit house in Altinho just the day before, eager to spend their vacation in one of India's most popular destinations. They rented a car and set out to explore, with Miramar Beach being one of their stops. Miramar Beach, located about 3 kilometers from the capital city of Panaji, was bustling with both tourists and locals. The group arrived in the late afternoon, enjoying the beach's scenic views and relaxing atmosphere. As evening approached, they were still on the beach, soaking in the last moments of daylight and the cool breeze. At around 8:50 p.m., the weather took a sudden turn for the worse. Heavy rainfall began to pour down, accompanied by loud thunder and flashes of lightning. Akhil and his group decided it was best to leave the beach and head back to their car to avoid getting drenched. They gathered their belongings and hurriedly made their way towards the parking area. As the rain intensified, the atmosphere became chaotic. People were rushing to find shelter and the sound of thunder went louder and louder. Witnesses later described the scene as terrifying. It was then that a powerful lightning strike hit the beach. The bright flash and deafening sound were followed by a moment of eerie silence. The lightning had struck close to Akil and his companions. The impact was immediate. Akil, his wife, and a male friend were knocked to the ground, rendered unconscious by the strike. The rest of the group, including children, screamed in panic and rushed to help. Amid the confusion, Akil's wife and the friend slowly regained consciousness. Disoriented but alive, Akil, however, remained motionless. The group quickly realized the severity of the situation and called for help. The Panaji police were notified, and an ambulance was dispatched to the scene. The 108 ambulance service, known for its swift response, arrived promptly and rushed Akil to the Goa Medical College Hospital in Bambolim, located about 7 kilometers away. Upon arrival at the hospital, the medical team immediately attended to Akil. Despite their best efforts, it was too late. The doctors pronounced him dead on arrival. The police suspected that Akil had suffered a heart attack, but the post-mortem examination later revealed the true cause of death. Akil had died from electrocution and blast injuries consistent with a lightning strike. The news of Akil's death spread quickly, leaving his family and friends in shock. His body was handed over to his family, who arranged for it to be flown back to Kerala for the final rites. Akil, who worked in the taxi business, left behind his wife and 2 daughters. It was October 13, 2017, in the town of Orsha, located in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. Roger Stotesbury, a 58-year-old British tourist, was visiting the Lakshmi Narayan temple with his wife, Hilary. They were on a year-long gap-year journey around the world, documenting their travels on a blog. This trip was meant to be a celebration of their freedom after raising 2 children and caring for their parents. It was supposed to be a fun and memorable trip, but it ended in tragedy. Roger and Hilary had left their home in Buckingham, England in November 2016. They rented out their house, put their belongings in storage, and set off to explore the world. Their journey took them through 22 countries, including Italy, Chile, Japan, and Australia, with India being their final destination before returning home. The couple arrived in Orcha on October 12th and checked into the Shish Mahal Hotel. They spent their first day exploring the town and visiting the Taj Mahal, celebrating Hilary's birthday. Roger, a documentary filmmaker, was enthusiastic about capturing every moment of their travels. He frequently updated their blog, sharing photos and stories with friends and family back home. On the afternoon of October 13th, Roger and Hilary visited the Lakshmi Narayan Temple, a 17th century structure known for its stunning architecture and scenic views. Roger was particularly excited to take photographs from the temple's terrace. As he positioned himself on the edge of a narrow wall to get the perfect shot, he suddenly slipped and fell from a height of 30 feet. Hilary, standing just a few feet away, watched in horror as her husband plunged to the ground. Onlookers and temple officials rushed to help. Roger was quickly placed on a stretcher and taken to Ramraja Hospital. Despite their efforts, he succumbed to his injuries. The initial examination revealed that he suffered a cardiorespiratory arrest and severe spinal injuries. The news of Roger's death shocked everyone who knew the couple. They were described as the most happily married couple by their friends and family. Hilary was in shock, unable to comprehend the sudden loss of her beloved husband. Local authorities began legal proceedings and provided support to Hilary during this difficult time. The couple's blog, Our Middle-Aged Gap Year, detailed their adventures and the philosophy behind their journey. They believed in living life to the fullest, with Roger's motto being, to die young as late as possible. Their travels included cycling in the Atacama Desert, trekking in the Amazon, and visiting Graceland. They shared their experiences and photos, encouraging others to embrace new adventures. Roger's death raised several questions. Was it an accident? Was he trying to take a selfie, as some reports suggested? Or was it simply a tragic misstep? Pratik Kumar, a senior police officer, stated that Roger was trying to take a picture of himself on the wall when he fell. However, family members, including Hilary's cousin Gina Rosner, disputed this claim. They insisted that Roger was not taking a selfie and had already taken several photographs before the fall. Roger's body was sent for an autopsy, and the British High Commission provided assistance to Hilary in returning home. The couple had planned to return to England on December 16, 2017. Their house in Buckingham, rented out to a 47-year-old architect, awaited their return. The Stotesburys' journey was carefully planned. They sold their possessions, rented out their home, and purchased round-the-world flight tickets. They aimed to live on a budget of £100 a day, believing their trip would be cost-neutral. They saw this gap year as an opportunity to experience new things and reconnect as a couple after years of raising children and fulfilling family responsibilities. It was November 16, 2018, when 26-year-old John Allen Chow went on a mission that would change his life forever. A deeply committed American missionary, Chow had trained with All Nations International, a Christian organization, and was passionate about sharing his faith. His dream was to reach the Sentinelese tribe, an isolated community living on North Sentinel Island in India's Andaman Islands. They had lived in isolation for thousands of years and were known to reject any outside contact. Despite the risks, Chow believed it was his calling to introduce them to Christianity. Chow was no stranger to the Andaman Islands. He had visited the region in 2015 and 2016, learning about the Sentinelese during his travels. Unlike his earlier trips this time, his goal was more ambitious. He wanted to directly approach the tribe. The Sentinelese, believed to have a population of about 150, are fiercely protective of their isolation. They have consistently resisted outsiders, often reacting with hostility to any intrusions. Driven by his conviction, Chow meticulously planned his mission. He spent months preparing and learning about the risks. He hired local fishermen for $325 to take him close to the island, even though they knew it was illegal and dangerous. The tribe's hostility toward outsiders was well documented, and the Indian government prohibited contact to protect both the tribe and visitors. The fishermen, though reluctant, eventually agreed to assist him. On November 15th, Chow made his first approach to the island in a kayak, paddling alone while the fishermen remained behind. As he neared the shore, he greeted them by saying that his name was John and that he loved them, adding that Jesus loved them as well. The Sentinels responded by readying their arrows. In an effort to show goodwill, he offered them a fish. Despite this gesture, the tribe's hostility intensified, forcing him to retreat. Later that day, Chow tried again. This time he brought gifts, including a football and more fish. The outcome was the same. The tribe reacted with hostility and chased him back into the water. Frustrated but undeterred, Chow wrote in his journal that he felt scared but still believed in his mission. He questioned whether he should leave but ultimately decided he couldn't abandon his purpose. On November 16th, Chow made his final attempt. Before heading to the island, he wrote a letter to his family, acknowledging the risks he faced. He asked for their forgiveness if anything happened to him, explaining that he believed his mission was worth the danger. In his letter, he urged his family not to blame the tribe or God if he didn't survive. As he approached the island, the fishermen waited offshore. They later reported seeing the Sentinelese attack Chow with arrows as he neared the beach. He was struck, and the tribe dragged his body away. The fishermen watched in horror, later recounting that the tribe appeared to bury his body on the beach. Indian authorities confirmed Chow's death but decided against retrieving his remains to avoid further conflict with the tribe. The incident sparked widespread debate. Many criticized Chow's decision, calling it reckless and irresponsible. His actions violated Indian laws designed to protect the Sentinelese from outside interference, including potential exposure to diseases they had no immunity against. Survival International, a human rights group advocating for indigenous tribes, condemned his mission, emphasizing the need to respect the tribe's wishes and isolation. Others viewed Chow's actions as a reflection of his deep faith. His family expressed forgiveness toward the Sentinelese and supported his belief in spreading Christianity. They released a statement forgiving those believed to be responsible for his death. For them, Chow's mission, though controversial, was seen as an act of sincere devotion. The fishermen who helped Chow were arrested for breaking laws protecting the tribe. However, the Sentinelese themselves faced no legal consequences, as their actions were viewed as a defense of their territory. The Indian government reiterated its commitment to protecting the tribe, maintaining strict no-contact policies and keeping the waters around North Sentinel Island off-limits. Chow's death raised important questions about the ethics of missionary work and the risks of contacting isolated communities. Many pointed to the historical devastation caused by outside interference in indigenous cultures, arguing that the Sentinelese had every right to resist outsiders. Critics stressed that Chow's actions, while well-intentioned, ignored the tribe's autonomy and cultural boundaries. For the Sentinelese, life continues as it has for thousands of years, untouched by the modern world. But for those who knew Chow, his story is a painful example of the fine line between faith and respecting others' way of life. Whether his mission was courageous or misguided remains a deeply polarizing topic. In the end, his tragic death forces us to reflect on the consequences of imposing our beliefs on others and the importance of respecting cultural differences. It was June 14, 2016, at Disney World's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa in Orlando, Florida. The Graves family from Elkhorn, Nebraska, was enjoying their vacation at the world-famous theme park. 2-year-old Lane Thomas Graves, a lively and curious child, was spending the evening by the Seven Seas Lagoon with his parents, Matt and Melissa, and his older sister, Ella. That night, Disney was showing Zootopia on an outdoor screen, and Lane was playing with other children in the shallow waters near the shore. It was around 8:30 p.m., a time when alligators were most active. As Lane bent down near the water, an alligator, estimated to be 7 to 8 feet long, emerged from the lagoon. The reptile likely mistook the small boy for prey and moved swiftly. The animal lunged and grabbed Lane, pulling him into the water. His father, Matt, just a few feet away, heard the splash and immediately jumped into action. He rushed into the water, trying to pull his son free from the alligator's powerful grip. Despite his desperate attempts to open the reptile's jaws and rescue Lane, the alligator dragged the child into deeper water and out of reach. A massive search effort began immediately after the incident. Disney staff, local authorities, and dive teams worked tirelessly throughout the night. After 17 hours, Lane's body was found 6 feet underwater, roughly 15 yards from where he was taken. The medical examiner determined his cause of death to be drowning and injuries caused by the alligator. In the days following the tragedy, Disney reviewed its safety measures. The company removed nearly 100 alligators from its properties, installed barriers around the lagoon, and placed new signs warning guests about wildlife dangers. A lighthouse statue was later erected near the lagoon as a tribute to Lane. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission investigated the incident and concluded that the attack was predatory. It occurred at dusk, a peak hunting time for alligators, and during the summer months when their drive for food is heightened. Although no swimming signs were posted around the lagoon, they didn't mention the presence of alligators. Reports later surfaced that guests had warned Disney staff about the alligator before the attack, but no immediate action was taken. For Matt and Melissa Graves, the loss of Lane was a heartbreak beyond words. They chose not to pursue legal action against Disney, despite receiving worldwide sympathy and support. Instead, they established the Lane Thomas Foundation to honor their son. The foundation supports families navigating the challenges of pediatric organ transplants, a cause close to the Graves family's hearts. Through this work, they aim to create a lasting legacy for Lane. They expressed their gratitude for the overwhelming kindness shown to them, acknowledging their daily miss of Lane and their efforts to make a positive impact in his name. Years later, Lane's story remains deeply impactful. It raises questions about whether earlier warnings could have prevented the tragedy. What if clearer signs had been posted? What if the family had been alerted to potential dangers? While these questions may never have answers, the memory of Lane reminds us of the balance between human activity and wildlife interactions. Originally from Jamaica, Errol Bennett made Preston, UK his home, where he became a well-known upholsterer and respected figure in the West Indian community. Despite his years away from Jamaica, his heart remained tethered to the island's warmth and beauty. As he reached his late 50s, the relentless pain of arthritis made the English climate unbearable, prompting him to spend extended periods in Hector's River, a serene village in Portland, Jamaica. In December 2011, Errol returned to Jamaica for the winter, eager to enjoy the tropical climate and reconnect with his roots. He looked forward to a special celebration planned for July 2012, when his daughter Zoe would join him for his 60th birthday. However, fate had other plans. During his stay in Hector's River, Errol unknowingly faced a grave threat. His cousin Clifton, who had long struggled with life's hardships, harbored deep resentment toward him. Despite Errol's financial assistance over the years, Clifton felt betrayed and believed he was owed more. On a quiet July morning in 2012, Clifton's simmering anger erupted into violence. Driven by greed and a distorted sense of entitlement, he broke into Errol's villa with a machete. What began as an attempted robbery quickly escalated into a brutal act of violence. Errol, alone in his home, fell victim to Clifton's murderous rage, ending his life in the place where he had sought solace. Shocked and terrified, Errol tried to defend himself, but Clifton's rage was unstoppable. The machete came down with brutal force, slashing through flesh and bone, Errol sustained 15 wounds, each more devastating than the last. Blood stained the floors and walls of the villa, the once serene space now a grim testament to violence and betrayal. Errol fought for his life, but the attack was too severe. Alone and bleeding, he succumbed to his injuries, his life ebbing away in the place he had hoped would bring him peace. Zoe, who had been preparing to visit her father, had her trip canceled at the last minute due to work commitments. It was a twist of fate that saved her life and that of her unborn child. Had she been there, she might have been another victim of Clifton's madness, but instead she was spared, only to be thrust into a nightmare when she received the news. When Zoe arrived in Jamaica, the horror of what had happened hit her full force. She walked into her father's villa and was met with a scene of unimaginable violence. The sight of her father's bloodied body, the evidence of the struggle that had taken place, shattered her. Her worst fears had been realized, and the grief was overwhelming. She had lost her father, and the island that had once been a place of joy and celebration was now tainted with tragedy. The local authorities eventually arrested Clifton in September 2012, but the wheels of justice turned slowly. The trial was delayed multiple times, much to the frustration and anguish of Errol's family. Each adjournment felt like a slap in the face, prolonging their pain and denying them the closure they so desperately needed. The case was adjourned 6 times, and the family's faith in the justice system eroded further with each delay. Years passed, and the legal battle dragged on, with threats and intimidation becoming part of Zoe's daily life. But she refused to back down. She had lost her father in the most brutal way possible, and she was determined to see justice served. Her resolve never wavered, even as the trial became a drawn-out ordeal. Finally, in March 2016, after years of fighting, Zoe secured the justice her father deserved. Clifton was found guilty of Errol's murder and was sentenced to 40 years to life. It was a moment of bittersweet victory for Zoe. She had fought tirelessly to see her father's killer brought to justice, but the victory could not get Errol back. The pain of his loss remained, a constant reminder of the violence that had shattered their lives. Zoe's journey to find justice for her father was long and painful, but she never gave up. Though the years passed and the world moved on, the memory of Errol Bennett and the legacy of love he left behind would never fade. Desiree Gibbon, an adventurous 26-year-old from Queens, New York, was exploring Jamaica in November 2017, staying at her grandmother's hotel in Montego Bay. Known for her roles as a model, aspiring filmmaker, and globetrotter, Desiree had traveled to reconnect with her roots and plan for film school in Europe. Montego Bay's vibrant culture and stunning beaches offered a perfect respite from New York's hustle, blending comfort with opportunity. Desiree immersed herself in local life, seeking a bartending job to fund her dreams while exploring the island's hidden corners. Her openness and enthusiasm brought her into contact with various locals, some welcoming, others potentially dangerous. Despite the allure of island life, areas like Anchovy, just miles from where she stayed, she carried a reputation for danger that Desiree either overlooked or chose to ignore. On November 26, 2017, Desiree seemingly left her grandmother's hotel to meet someone. She never returned, and the following morning, Anchovy residents discovered her body hidden among the bushes. Her throat was slashed, and her face was bruised, revealing a brutal attack. The violence shocked the community, which had a fragile trust in local law enforcement. Despite the grim circumstances, justice seemed elusive in the face of such brutality, and the challenges of investigating crime in a place where safety and trust were already tenuous. Devastated by the news, Desiree's family was left grappling with the unthinkable. How could this happen to her, in a place that was supposed to be safe, surrounded by people she trusted? Her mother, Andrea, was particularly haunted by the thought that her daughter's killer was someone she knew. Desiree had always been careful, aware of the dangers of being a young woman traveling alone. Yet it seemed that her trust had been misplaced, her openness exploited by someone who had gained her confidence only to betray it most horrifically. The investigation into Desiree's murder was slow and frustrating. Jamaican authorities, already stretched thin by the demands of their jobs, struggled to piece together the events leading up to her death. There were no immediate leads, and no suspects were brought in for questioning. The lack of progress fueled rumors and speculation, each theory more disturbing than the last. Some believed it was a crime of passion, driven by jealousy or anger. Others suggested a more calculated motive, perhaps linked to the darker aspects of island life that Desiree had unknowingly brushed up against. Andrea, desperate for answers, remained convinced that her daughter had been lured away from the hotel's safety. The fact that Desiree's purse, money, and identification were missing only reinforced her belief that the attack was premeditated, that someone had targeted her specifically. The idea that Desiree's killer might still be out there, free to harm others, was almost too much to bear. As the weeks turned into months, the case grew colder. Jamaican authorities released few details, citing the ongoing investigation, but it was clear that progress was minimal. Desiree's family, left in limbo, continued to press for answers, but their calls for justice seemed to fall on deaf ears. The reality of the situation was harsh. In a place like Jamaica, where resources were limited and crime was often met with indifference, the likelihood of finding her killer was slim. Desiree's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of even the most beautiful places. Her death was a stark illustration of how quickly life could be snatched away, and how trust could be shattered in an instant. For those who knew her, the pain of her loss was compounded by the knowledge that her dreams of film school, of making a name for herself in the world, would never be realized. Jones, a vibrant woman from Yorkshire, England, moved to Jamaica with dreams of a perfect life. After marrying local man Delroy Scott, her days were filled with sunlit beaches and reggae rhythms. However, her fairy tale began to unravel after their divorce. Determined to start anew, Barbara focused on renovating her Jamaican home in Somerton, aiming to return to England. During this transition, she grew close to Omar Reed, a 30-year-old local hired for the renovations. Their professional relationship evolved into a complex personal one, adding to the complications in Barbara's life. By late 2004, Barbara was amid a significant life change. She was preparing to leave Jamaica and return to England, a decision that involved more than just physical relocation. It marked the end of an era in her life. Amidst packing and overseeing the renovation work, Barbara ended her relationship with Reed. The decision to terminate their affair added tension to an already turbulent period in her life. The finality of her departure and the emotional strain of their breakup created an atmosphere ripe for conflict. On December 14th, Barbara Scott Jones was reported missing. Her absence was alarming, given her usual routine of regular communication with her family in England. Her daughter, Miss Yildiz Jones, became increasingly concerned after failing to reach her mother for over 10 days. Barbara, known for staying in touch consistently, had yet to respond to numerous phone calls and messages. The silence was unusual and troubling. Miss Yildiz Jones's concern deepened when she finally spoke with Omar Reed. Reed, who was supposed to be a caretaker and worker at the home, informed her that Barbara had left with another man and would return in a few days. The explanation seemed inconsistent with Barbara's character and their established communication patterns. The alarm bells rang louder. Something was not right. The Jamaican police began their investigation, initially grappling with the complexities of Barbara's personal life. The investigation revealed that Reed had a history of involvement with Barbara, casting him as a critical figure in the case. The pathologist report disclosed that Barbara had suffered blunt trauma to the head, resulting in a fractured skull. The brutality of the attack indicated a violent confrontation. As the investigation unfolded, Reed became the prime suspect. Barbara's body was discovered in a septic tank at her Somerton property. The tank had been hastily sealed with cement to conceal the crime. Her body, stripped to her underwear, was a grim testament to the violence that had ended her life. The discovery was shocking, a brutal conclusion to a life that had once been filled with hope and promise. Barbara's family initially responded with disbelief and denial. They maintained that Reed was merely a worker and had no intimate involvement with Barbara. They insisted there was no evidence of a romantic relationship and portrayed Reed as a simple caretaker. However, local reports and police investigations painted a different picture. District Constable Rosemary Armstrong stated that Barbara and Reed were often seen together, and their relationship had been widely known in the community. The circumstances surrounding Barbara's murder left many questions unanswered. The motive behind the crime remained speculative. Some speculated that jealousy or personal conflict could have driven Reed to commit such a heinous act. Entangled in a complex web of personal and professional dynamics, Barbara and Reed's relationship cast a shadow over the tragedy, intensifying the mystery and intrigue surrounding their lives.